Like, I've had to eat pig's brains. I've had to staple myself with like a staple gun.
No.
Yeah. I was almost drowned on Titans 1. And I've been electrocuted with a shock collar for a lie detector test. Um let's see.
Boy, you must really love the game.
I'm a competitor. I love to compete. I love a chance to prove people wrong. I love a chance to grow. Like, it is like addictive competing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Theater Life, a podcast for theater people by theater people. I'm your host, Ben Kercheval, and my guest today is a nationally recognized drag queen whose persona, Evah Destruction, was a 3-time contestant on the Boulet Brothers Dragula television series. And over her last 2 appearances on the Dragula Titans spinoff, Evah Destruction became one of the most recognizable and regarded contestants, culminating with a season 2 victory that saw her named my favorite thing ever, Queen of the Underworld, in 2025. Elsewhere, her recent performance in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, presented by Austin Rainbow Theater, earned her a nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Musical at the 2026 Austin Theater Critics Awards. Having carved out one of the most prominent followings in the world of drag, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the Theater Life podcast Alexander Surian, a.k.a. Evah Destruction. Alexander, welcome.
Hi, thank you. My goodness, what an introduction. I love it.
I try to pump everybody up when we get started. These
Wow.
are good vibes. Good
Wow.
vibes on the Theater
No,
Life
yeah.
podcast.
No, it's great. That's great. And just to clarify,
Yes.
it was Titan season 2 that I won. Season 2 winner was Bitch Puddin' on the normal season. But for the listeners, Titans 2 is like the all-star season. It's just the second season of that I won recently.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did I not say
But
Titans?
It's all good. I just wanted to specify. That's all.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Dragula Titans, season 2.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And what was the other name? Bitch Puddin'?
Yeah. So, in the list of winners, we have Vander Von Odd, season 1, Bitch Puddin', season 2, Landon Cider on season 3, when I originally appeared. And then you have Saint, for Resurrection. You have Dali on season 4, Victoria Elizabeth Black on season 1 of Titans. And then you have Asia Consent, season 6, and then 5 was Nyahuru X. And then season 7's on the horizon. It looks like we're getting another season come this fall. So
Goodness gracious!
I know we're collecting them.
What an incredible group of names there. I'll start there. I love Evah Destruction. That's such a wonderful name. And doing the research on you, I know you got it from a friend, and it seemed like it was pretty quick. Like, hey, I really love that. What is it about that just completely punk rock? Because it sounds like you should be in the Sex Pistols or something. What is it about Evah Destruction that just instantly you were going, yes, that's it?
So Eva didn't start punk rock either. Like, at first, so I kind of tiptoed my way into it by doing a lot of open mic nights and talent shows that were featuring drag talent, for free. Whoever wanted to perform, you could do little audience applause contests, and then if you won, you got a little weekend feature with the main cast at the bar that I was trucking out to in Marietta, Georgia at the time. And it was kind of like I had to conform to a certain style to be marketable. At the time, Atlanta, Georgia was very it's just a very glamorous, heavy city where it's like, if you're a drag queen, they're very big on female illusion and female impersonation and things like that. So you follow the rubric and the rules of that, which is pads, body, rhinestones, big wigs, jewelry, etc., gowns.
Almost more of a pageantry type.
Exactly. Very pageant heavy city, and I have a lot of respect for it. I did pageants myself, but it's like at a certain point, I said this in another interview, but there was a time where you start to really think about your name. And with Evah Destruction, it's like I kind of coined on the whole thing where people saw me as versatile as a performer, and I was a bit of a chameleon. I could fit into every shape, every genre that I put myself into, or what people asked of me, whether it was a theme or whatever. And I don't know, like I prided myself on a lot of character performances where I would take on a certain character that I invented, or I'm cosplaying or something like that, and it would come with a mix or like an act with it. And it just it really helped me get on my feet as not only a performer but a well-rounded entertainer. And from there, I think it burnt me out a little bit with the one way of performing that I knew. So then I kind of broke down the whole ideology and the symbolism of my name. And, somebody on social media was just like, your name is Evah Destruction. Go destroy something. Like, you're not living up to like what your name represents, and that's something that's shocking, attention grabbing. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Looking at the Boulet brothers Dragula, I was like, oh my god, like they're finally putting alternative drag on the map, like in a bigger way, kind of like what Drag Race was doing. And I'd become such a quick fan of the show. And it was kind of like season 3 that I originally appeared on Dragula was kind of like my introduction into coming into my own. And while some people may say like, oh, why would you change yourself for a show? That wasn't so much what happened. It's like I grew into my own with the show. It kind of allowed me to have the freedom to represent my art and my persona in its fully realized form, with everything I had always wanted to do, but was too afraid or too, I felt too limited to represent her in that way, because I felt like no one was going to buy it. No one was going to.
Maybe it wasn't going to sell in the way.
Yeah, it wasn't going to sell as easy as it could have. So I just, I threw myself into the deep end, and it took a second, but I think by Titans 2 or Titans 1, I think it really started to take form with not only my look but also myself inside. And then by Titans 2 is when I was fully realized with not only my presentation but the strength within to use my voice and my confidence and who I want people to see me as. And that's polished, but also deliver you an amazing, eye-catching, unforgettable show or presentation, whatever it could be.
You auditioned for Dragula, you send in a tape, or how'd you end up on the show?
I did not audition, actually, and this is something that I wasn't really able to talk about as freely, but the NDA for season 3 is done, so I'm pretty much able to talk about this. But
sweet, let's scoop it. Let's go.
But yeah, season 3, the Boulets asked me. They asked me to be a part of the show, or they asked me if I was interested. But at the time, I was in town when they approached me. I was in town filming America's Got Talent, and we. Those of you that know, that did not go well. But it again, that was another opportunity that I was asked to do, and I did the thing, and it didn't work out, and it is what it is. But the Boulets asked me, and I was also in between the other contract of auditioning for season 11 of RuPaul's Drag Race at the time. So I was caught in between two contracts of potential things that could have been but didn't work out. So then December of that year, this was 2018, I sent them an email because I spoke to another entertainer, Vander, who was the winner of season 1. She was the creative director slash set builder of season 3. And I was like, where are y'all at with casting? And she was like, honestly, we only have 3 people confirmed right now. And I was like, auditions open early or in the year. Like, what do you mean you only have 3 people confirmed? Like, that's crazy. So then I sent them an email and they were like, sign this NDA. And by January, I was confirmed. And then, yeah, by February, I was being flown out to LA.
Oh. So when you look at the evolution of starting out on Dragula and then going through 2 seasons on Titans, tell me about the evolution of Evah as not even really just a character, but the way you describe her. There is a realness to her because it is real. She's you. You are her. So what's the evolution of your confidence in slipping into her skin and just the fully realized, more polished version of her versus when she's starting out as just a little Dragula baby?
Um, so season 3 had a lot of elements of what I knew at the time to be my version of alternative drag. And that was all of the reference, all of my influences. Like, I fixated a lot on like Disney villains and horror movies that I had seen, and just a lot of artistic influences that raised me. But then by Titans 1 and 2, you start to step into the brain of first of all being able to adapt really easily to certain situations. And you've been on the road, you've been around the world, like you've seen a lot of things, you've been exposed to so much, and you've shoveled through so much shit to get to where you are at that point. So by season 1 of Titans, that's when I really felt more confident, because compared to season 3, it's like night and day difference of what I learned in that amount of time and what I was able to apply to my drag, whether it's more raw elements and creativity and making my own stuff, or having been around the alternative drag community enough to realize that there's more outside of just my front door to see and to experience and to listen to. And but then by Titan season 2, it was kind of an amalgamation of everything. It felt like such a like homecoming experience, where it's like I've been traveling on the endless road, like going through so much and working my ass off, like through bars and clubs and theaters, and dealing with people who don't know how to pay you on time, or people who take advantage of your persona and like your image, or chicken shaped gigs to incredible opportunities, like going through COVID and doing drag during COVID, and all types of experiences. And I think it kind of just expanded with how I wanted Evah to look, how I wanted to present her, and also what I had to say too, because what I've had to say has also evolved. Because before it was kind of like I don't want to make waves, I don't want to stand out and cause controversy or whatever. But now it's kind of like, no, as a pillar, because once you are a well-known entertainer and people recognize you, you really do become one of the pillars of the community, and you become somewhat of a D-list celebrity in your space. And there's a responsibility to that, and there are things that you need to stand upon and you need to speak up about. And we learned a lot in 2020 with Black Lives Matter, and from there it snowballed into so much more that we had been ignoring, and we have been neglecting as well. With the Me Too movement, with trans rights, with Palestine, with Ukraine, like all these political and socio-political issues, and as entertainers, it's our responsibility to make sure that people know that we are there to speak with them and for them and learn and be not just these fun looking people that perform for 5 minutes at a time at a bar and then hit the door. No, I mean, whenever I'm on the microphone, I always have something to say. And I use my voice to empower or just inspire and also just tell people, hey, these aren't things that should be ignored. And you have people in your community that you need to look out for. And it's not just about ourselves all the time.
You're representing a marginalized part of society. And at a time when there is a lot of politicizing and discussion and discourse about queer rights and your place in society, and so there's this element of, well, if this is the conversation that's going to be made about us, we also need to be able to have a seat at that table in that conversation and be able to have our voices heard.
Absolutely. And Titans 1 was kind of like that moment that happened more recently towards like 2020, because this was around 2022 that we filmed, and there was a lot of drama on season 1 of Titans. It was a very controversial season, and not in the best way. It was a very tough season to film. Season 3 was even tougher to film, for those that know.
What about for the people who don't know? Tell it. You
people,
don't have to give us all of them, but just give it. Why was it hard?
The people that don't know, season 3 just had a lot of big personalities that had, their own soapboxes to stand up on and, scream to the void. And it wasn't that a lot of us didn't agree with what was being said. It was just, how do we make this entertaining? And also, how do we also make this a space in which someone can say something, but also keep the universe of the show, keep the story going, etc. There's a lot of layers to reality TV, because as soon as somebody starts soapboxing or somebody starts grandstanding on business with whether it's their own agenda or something that's going on, it sometimes gets twisted into something that looks annoying or something that's obnoxious or something. And I think that there are some people that unfortunately fell victim to stuff like that, where they meant well, but then it gets twisted and formed into something that looks obnoxious and overbearing or domineering, etc., etc. And even like there comes into the conversation duplicitness too, that comes into the reality TV circle of when you present yourself a certain way off camera or behind people's backs, but then you act a certain other way, like in front of the cameras. Like, that's something I really had to learn, especially with myself, because my personality is very much like, I wouldn't say I have the most profound personality for reality TV, because I have a certain way of communicating, and sometimes you have to prepare what to say so you know how to say it properly. And that comes with being neurodivergent. You have ADHD, you're autistic, whatever, because we're taught to think before we speak, or else the first thing that pops into our head isn't going to be as eloquent or well-spoken or clear. But with all this being said, this is what I learned to be even better for myself. And, going forward on Titans 2, that's kind of what I took in. And it became a thing where you're not just a face, you also need a voice, and you need to have an inner strength to know how to approach these situations. And I felt just a little more prepared for that season, which armored me with the skills to, speak up a little bit more and also know how to speak a little better. And, with Titans 2, I got thrown into, these situations where I had to make, if not more tough decisions than everybody else, because with success comes, hardships, and the Boulets are sadistic, and they will make sure you work for the successes you have on the show, but also sometimes you got to pay the price for the successes too, because Heavy is the head that wears the crown on that show. And when I would win challenges, I won 2 challenges specifically on Titans 2 that came with terms and conditions. It's like, you won this, but now you've got to vote for somebody to be in the bottom. Or you won this challenge, sorry, spoilers, but you now have to eliminate somebody on the spot. And that is TV gold, because it creates friction, it creates tension, and I set out to, play a tough game. I wanted to, evolve my character on the show to be tougher. I wanted her to present more cutthroat, because I am always kind of like dubbed as the occasionally funny wallflower that gets along with everybody, that minds her own business and does as well as she can. But then Titans 2, I was sick of it. I was like, this is my 3rd time going on the show. I think it's time to turn up the heat. And it kind of worked out that way, but I think ultimately I had some nice gaggy moments, and I was able to give somebody the chop, and there's also some times in Dragula where you get you have to do like fright feats, which are like little tests of strength by eating something really gross or enduring pain or something. For example, we had a Gothic Bride challenge for Titans 2, and if you won the fright feat, which was you had to eat through a slice of wedding cake with mealworms in them. And
what is it, Fear Factor?
Basically, I tell people Dragula is like Drag Race if you mixed it with Fear Factor and horror movies. That's basically what it is. Like, I've had to eat pig's brains. I've had to staple myself with like a staple gun.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was almost drowned on Titans 1. I've been electrocuted with a shock collar for a lie detector test. Let's see.
Boy, you must really love the game.
I'm a competitor. I love to compete. I love a chance to prove people wrong. I love a chance to grow. Like, it is like addictive competing sometimes.
Okay, so let me ask you something then. So there must be, I would imagine anyway, a lot of love for the Boulet brothers and what they've done for alternative drag. If you keep going back, and I know we just talked about the most insane versions of this, but there has to be something in either the relationship that you have with them or the way that you've interacted with them over the years that makes this all worth doing. I mean, they have to be a focal point for alternative drag to keep going and doing all of that, don't they?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to sit here and say that they are spooky RuPaul. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to say that they have paved the same way that RuPaul has in her legacy. However, the Boulet brothers did something that was pretty bold at the time, because Dragula started in 2016, and it originated as a party that included like a show, and then they would pull people on stage to do what was like extermination challenges or fright feats on stage live, and there would be like a winner at the end of the night. So then they turned it into a reality show, and given their history of what I know and understand, it's like they have, shoveled through a lot of shit just like the rest of us in the punk community, and they have endured, like, they kind of give a lot of that experience to the contestants when they go on the show. Like, it's not the most glamorous setting. It's not it's very rough around the edges, and sometimes you have to suffer through the heat, the cold, not the most preferable conditions to get ready or whatever. It is what it is, and we go on the show knowing that is something that we sign up for because we want to prove ourselves. And I think a lot of us secretly have mommy or daddy issues, because there's a part of us that do come back because we want to get that stamp of approval from the Boulets or even the general public, or launch our careers. There's all types of motivations for why we do this.
So surprise, surprise, people who perform have validation things that they need. It's who among us?
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of people that have affirmation as their love language. Yes, yes, me included. But it's like
it takes one to know one, baby. That's how.
Right, right. So I mean, with the Boulets, like for me, my relationship is we're great colleagues. Like I text Swan every now and then, or Swan Thula, sorry, one of the Boulets, Dracmorda, and then Swan Thula. And, we catch up, and I always, always pop in and congratulate them on their accolades and their successes with the shows, whether they're nominated for awards or, they get big opportunities that, we haven't seen them get before. And it's friendly, but the way they cast the show too is a lot of the early seasons were made up of people that they were previous fans of, like we get a lot of the big personalities because they've been watching them for a long time and they want to see what they can do on their show. And this whole show isn't even exclusive to primarily just punk artists. You can be a glamorous girl, but it's how you present yourself and apply your drag to the challenges is what they look for. So you can be a glamour girl and want to go after Dragula, but they want to know that you're an ice cold bitch too, because they want to see you tough as nails and be able to endure what they throw at you and give some good TV at the same time. So it's kind of a catch-22 type situation, but they take anybody, whether it's race, gender, drag representation, like whatever. It doesn't matter. We are welcoming of all types of people. But with Drag Race, it's like, you've seen some stipulations about they don't cast drag kings. Well, they should make their own show. Well, they do now. It took years, but now drag kings have their own show. It's called King of Drag. And, there was this whole thing with trans people competing on Drag Race. But then Dragula was the first show to have more people of those backgrounds, of those genders and representations and et cetera, et cetera. So the Boulets have built a tiny empire of, monsters and people who have been on the show, but just fans who want to see more alternative representation, whether that is scary or just incredibly artistic too, because Dragula prides itself by showing such artistry,
and it's cinematic.
Yes.
I was going through the photos of it. Pestilence, death, war, famine. I mean, what you did, that was at the end. Was that in episode 10?
That
the
was
finale?
That was my finale. Yeah.
I was looking through it and I was showing my wife, go, look, this is, you see Alex at the Bastrop Opera House. We're going to have a second part of this episode where we talk more about community theater. But I said, this is Alex that you're seeing. And I'm blown away by the cinema of it. So for the general viewing audience who does not get to see the process of that, how do you get from point A to the runway?
Oh, gosh. I mean, so I'm going to speak in terms of referring to season 3.
Sure.
There are times where you can outsource to other people to help you create the things that you need to create, whether it's 3D printing, sewing, whatever. But with Titans 2, there was a lot of elements in which I really applied myself and learned new skills. Like with Titans 1 was the introduction of that, because that was when I saw on season 3 what I was up against. And if I was to come back, I was like, I'm going to really come at this the way it needs to be approached. And
Yeah, you got to raise the game.
Raw talent, whether and I didn't want to just be a good performer. I want to be a well-rounded Renaissance person that is multi-skilled, a Swiss Army knife of drag. And that's learning to style hair, make costumes, embellish, distress, paint, whatever. And Titans 1 was kind of an introduction. I made a lot of stuff for that. And then Titans 2, like, I had an agenda of being like, okay, normally I get stuff commissioned, and I love featuring people's work. I love paying people their worth, etc. But also, I have to have a hand in everything I'm wearing, because if it doesn't represent me 110%, it isn't me. I'm just wearing it off the rack, and I'm just wearing it straight out of the box. Like, that's not how I want to do that. That doesn't represent my art. So
it's sort of the whole, like, it wears you versus you wear it type of
exactly
thing. Yeah,
exactly. And I set up a whole pop-up workshop in my dining room. My table was cleared. I had a sewing machine. I had racks. I had a tool shelf. I had my airbrush machine. I had my heat gun. I had my Warbler. I had my my EVA foam. I was working myself like I was. Oh my God. Like, I was a skeleton by the time we had to film, because I was so stressed, and the time to prepare and things like that, like it just really wears you down. But I applied myself so heavily to this season and making my own things. Like the villain runway that we did before the finale, I made everything head to toe with my own two hands. It was just a lot of new skills that I wanted to learn and apply and start. Like, that's part of the evolution, is just, you know, seeing where you can do better and be better at and do the thing and spend hours doing it or perfecting it or learning. And it's not the best time to learn new skills, because you're racing against the clock sometimes with, like, creating things. But it was so worth it, though. Like, it was so worth it, because, like, again, it's like you face challenges where you get outside the show and, you know, you're in a production of Anything Goes, and the costumes fall through at the last minute, and none of the girls have wigs. And then you're like, oh, I know how to style hair ish, and I can give me all the wigs you have. I can style all of them in a week. Let's do it. And then they're ready for show. You know, it's like stuff like that where you have those skills for other things. And yeah,
when there's no mistaking when talent meets work ethic and want to. It's so visible. It's the whole idea of preparation. That when you come in and you come on the runway and you've honed in your skills, you've put in the time, you've gotten better, and this will have been the third time that you've done the show with them. They know what you looked like on Dragula versus Titans 2.
Yeah.
It's unmistakable, and I think that probably has to play a huge role in winning and that success, because, you know, you already have the skill, but when you put it all together, it's undeniable.
Well, thank you.
Look, I'm uninitiated. You know, this is outside of an area that I have a lot of expertise, but I also know craftsmanship when I see it. I mean, craftsmanship is craftsmanship across all artistic mediums. It is.
Well, thank you. And I mean, the thing is too is, because there's some cases where you can clearly see when somebody's had something made by somebody else, right? And there's the stipulation of like, oh, well, she bought all her drag. Like, if you have the means, buy your drag. But if you don't put something on that makes it you, to me, that's where you start to lose me. And it's like, because, like, sure, you can get something, it is gorgeous, it's stunning, but it's also like, is this a part of your silhouette? Is this a part of your trademark? Is this a part of your character? Cool. If
Hmm.
so, but then there's a part of me being like, well, where does this represent you truly? Like, what is your brand? What is your shape? What is your essence? So for me, all of these runways, ever since the beginning of my journey, season 3, I learned a lot. Titans 1 was when I said everything that I sketch on paper
Hmm.
is what I'm wearing. And it has to be that way to the very last detail. And by Titans 2, it like it stayed that way. And like everything that you saw in the finale that you referred to, that was all a part of my universe, my brain of I wanted all these characters to look like they're part of like a video game, like a collection of bosses or a trading card set. I wanted them to live in the same universe. And I spent hours and days and weeks just like imagining these four horsemen and
Mm.
thinking about my references from D&D and how
Yes.
much I love D&D. And my pestilence came straight from the marshy bogs of the Fey realm. And like you get into hags and witches and fungus and mold and growths and bugs and rot. And then you go to the deepest part of a dungeon, and that's the warrior that's waiting to add you to their collection of blades and blood and viscera that they pride themselves in collecting those trophies and stuff. And then you go to Famine, who is this corrupted sorceress who used to be a ruling queen who was corrupted by her own magic, and now the magic has spilled out and she is desolating a once thriving kingdom. And then Death is the most glamorous representation of what I believe is the form of death that is welcoming, is somber, but is taking you into her arms and weeping over the loss, but knowing that it starts a life anew, whether that's reincarnation or you are free from your pain.
Hmm.
Because I was inspired by like death, especially. It's like I think about like Norse mythology, and you have Valhalla,
Hmm.
and then you have hell. Valhalla to me is kind of like a never-ending hell in the negative sense to me, because it's like people think, oh, you're being claimed to fight for the rest of eternity for this never like that's a warrior's death. So now your soul is claimed to fight the good fight for honor and strength. But to me, I'm like, that sounds like absolute chaos and suffering. And with hell, it's like your soul is released. You're able to move on and, be added to the sea of souls and whatever. And that's where you get, like in Greek mythology, you have Charon, which is where my death was inspired by. She is the harbinger, or they are the
Hmm.
harbinger of souls to ferry them across the river Styx. And to me, that just felt so beautiful and so symbolic. And I had a lovely time performing as her on the Titans 2 tour. And it really just was the cherry on top of that whole finale. And I felt so confident going into that and filming that and knowing how prepared I was. And to see it all come together and knowing all of the hard work, the learning of the skills, the applying those skills, etc. Like it, it really was just such a beautiful close to this chapter in my life, where now I have the freedom to do the things that I want. Now I get to look back and say, I did something that I worked years for, and
Yeah.
I did a lot in my 20s. I'm doing so much already in my 30s. And it's like, with Dragula, like the journey doesn't end, because now, I get to maybe appear as a judge, or I get to, occasionally appear and have, whatever opportunities come knocking. But it really fills me with pride knowing that, I finally did the thing that I set out to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it does feel great. And the other thing, though, is those are fully realized, well-crafted characters
Thank you.
that are still you, right? It's the art that is closest to your heart is the truest kind, right? And that's something that, we've talked on this podcast before with other guests. It's a recurring theme is authenticity. That whether it's an audience or whether it's a judging panel, people can see through BS.
You're
They know
right.
what's real and what's not. And when I see those four horsemen,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're all separate and they all have their own thing, there's still a through line. They all still feel very connected to who you are and the art that you're putting out there.
Thank you. And to give context to the listeners, the finale final runway was the four horsemen of the apocalypse and what that means to you in that theme of each singular horseman: pestilence, war, famine, and death. And to go off of what you just said, though, that right there really answers the question of evolution, and that to me is where it's like I did not feel like I would say I went through the biggest identity crisis of my life for years, and like I would say well over a decade. I just did not have a concept of who I was, even as Alex. And with Titans 2, it just stepping into it, I said, I'm here for me. Like I love my partner very much, but this it became a thing where I need to drop everything happening outside and inside my life so I can focus truly on me unabashedly, unapologetically, because I've been so used to people pleasing and living for others or for the sake of others, and always thinking about what other people are thinking about me, things like that, blah blah blah. And season 2 was kind of like where it came to a head, where it's like, this is me being as selfish as I know how to be. And I did not want to do anything that did not feel authentically me, or like, because there's things that you can adjust per, the challenges and the looks and whatever. But at the end of the day, all the runways, whether they were received well or not, it still was me, and it was everything that I believed in with my entire being. There was not one thing that I wore or did that I said, oh, I shouldn't have done it that way. Titans 1, season 3, plenty of that shit. I look back and I said, man, what the hell was I smoking? What was I thinking? But Titans 2, no, it was a true representation of, you were ready for this and you believed and knew what you needed to do, and this is a sign that you know exactly who you are now.
Yeah, and you have to have those early mistakes and those early
Yes.
failures to get to where you are, and to distill it down to a singular phrase. F it, just do it.
Yeah.
You can't dictate what someone's going to think about you, whether they're going to like you, whether they're not going to like you. And I've said this before on here. It's why I don't care what audiences think. Whether you win the season or don't win the season, or the challenge, or you don't win the challenge, or you get the feedback's good or not good, it's you've put out a version of yourself that you're comfortable with, and that is hard. It is hard to do that, and
Yes.
it is accomplishment in and of itself. I want to pivot real quick. The tour of terror that you did after that, was that the longest like continuous tour that you've done?
Oh
How many
yeah.
cities was that?
It was about 20.
Uh
20, yeah,
in like what,
because
2.5 months, 3 months, something like that?
no, it was a little over. Like it was like about like a month and some change.
Oh my goodness.
It was yeah, there were like cuz we did this all by bus. And we started in New Orleans. We flew to Nashville to rehearse and to see what the set was going to look like, because they rented out like a warehouse where they set everything up. That's where the bus was. And then we drove to New Orleans to start everything. And then from there, it was towards Atlanta, then Florida to Orlando, and then we drove up to like the East Coast to like New York, then to Chicago, like Boston, Pennsylvania, then to Chicago, and then we kind of did like a downward U shape where we ended up in like Missouri, then Texas, and then Arizona, California, and then Portland, and then Seattle, and then we curved over to like Utah, and then we ended in Denver. But yeah, there were days where it would always happen in three chunks where it's like three different cities in a row, maybe one day off, and then you're doing another three right after that. And in the beginning, it was split up where two cities and then maybe 2 days off. But no, it's like when we're done with the show, we're immediately on that bus, or we are waiting around until we pack up, and then there's little time to really enjoy the cities, at least for what they are and what they provide. But that's the job,
Yeah.
it's really hard. You got to stay on top of your body and like keeping it well oiled and hydrated and fed. And mind you, like they provided plenty for us to
Sure.
have. And the touring company, obsessed, like they're great. I love the crew. Shout out to Audrey and Elise. I love those gals, and I've worked with them before. Titans One tour that we did in 2023, I believe. I had a great taste of what that crew was like and how professionally it was ran. And then my last tour before that was 2020, before everything shut down. We went to Europe for the season 3 tour. And that was, oh gosh, that was like London, Manchester, Dublin, Glasgow, Berlin, Paris. Yeah, that was unforgettable. And the COVID I caught after that was also unforgettable. But it's fine.
Hey, you're here.
We lived.
Yeah, you're still here.
Yeah. So, but the tour is what I live for, though. I love
Do you?
yes, because it is hard. It's not easy being away from home for that amount of time. But it was around the same time I was gone for filming each season, and I'm one of those people that need occasional social interaction, but also I'm good in solitude. Like I'm a very, like I'm a Taurus. Like I very much am in tune with my own solitude and what that all entails. But no, the work, the schedule, the routine of it, it goes hand in hand with theater. Like it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you needing to do some kind of job actively, and mixing drag, it's like it makes the process a tad more exhausting because you're wearing things that your body isn't supposed to be wearing for that long. But the work is good and it's a lot of fun just touring, doing the same show 20 times and finding little ways to change it up, just like what we do in theater. It's exactly what I do with drag. It's like you do the same numbers for years and you find different ways to make them different every time or whatever. But with tour, you bond with your cast members, and with the Boulets, it's a great opportunity to also see them out of drag and kind of hang out sometimes, maybe have a dinner with them on occasion. But it's just such a nice, I had a great experience with our tour. It was so much fun. Had its own problems, but nothing that we couldn't handle and, overcome. Anytime they want to call me for a tour, I'm right there. I would love to do it again. It's the best.
Yeah, I think too, when you're a professional performer, there is something about a pressure cooker situation where when you're doing it with everyone else and everyone else is in that pressure cooker situation, that is difficult on one hand, but in some ways it's almost like you'd rather not ever be doing anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, there's something about how, like, the routine of it and the repetition and the constant go, go, go. Like,
Hmm.
there's a part of me that dreads moments like that where the anticipation of it is like, oh my God, I'm going to be so tired. Oh my God, I'm going to be so sore. But then when you're in the middle of it, it's like you're on and you're like,
Yeah.
let's just do it. Like, we're doing it. Like, we're in the middle of it. Let's go. And then when it's over, it's like, you're like, oh my God, finally a break. But then the post show depression kicks in hard.
You've just been pouring all of this time and the energy and everything into it, and then it's over.
Yeah.
It's done, and the people who were in every moment of your life for months on end.
Yeah.
It's how does an experience like that compare to doing something like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, where you're actually one of three people. You're rehearsing, but you're also having to give other people the opportunities, and it's more of a shared experience than you going out and having the full autonomy of what you're doing.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Hedwig. So we had about a month to put that show together, and it was one of the like
Which is not a
it
lot of time.
no, and it was the hardest role I like anything like theater performing even in drag like I've never endured something that difficult before because it's a one woman rock show and even Yitzhak the other person because it was just me and Yitzhak. I also had to we did like a pre-recording of some of Tommy's lines for Tommy the ex
Hmm.
just because like I said that there's a lot on my plate already and for this to be successful let's turn Tommy into like something that I'm reacting to where he's talking to me and it's a recording that I am responding to because right now his is even more monologues that I have to learn. Can we please simplify this? I will never ask for anything ever again. But so with even with Yitzhak, it's like Yitzhak doesn't talk like if like just maybe two or three times,
Hmm.
but Hedwig is straight through, and the difficulty of that and managing all those roles and the responsibilities of the lines the 12 songs I had to learn and the choreography and the costume changes in less than a minute in some cases it didn't feel hard once we got to the shows because the prep beforehand it feels like it's an impossible task and you're dreading it but then when you know it in your body and your mind you're just
Yeah.
like it's like second nature to
Yeah.
where when you're talking to a choreographer about anticipation of something of the moment that is coming right after what you're doing right then and there think about that and it's like it's in you so it's less hard and so I don't know. It kind of just goes hand in hand with that, where it it feels like it's going to be arduous and a lot, but then it ends up being really easy and enjoyable. And but Hedwig was really difficult. It took a lot for me to find where I lived in with Hedwig, and we can talk more about this for sure. But with the theater discussion, but
Yeah, we
it,
might get into more of that that side of it on that episode.
but just to touch lightly on it though is
Yeah.
I saw a lot of myself with Hedwig and so it was kind of a way for me to put a lot of who Evah is into Hedwig where it's
Hmm.
almost like this is who Hedwig is but it's still Evah so it was a way for me to translate that and make it more relatable to me and special to me without doing Hedwig by the book and what's expected because there was still like a rubric to follow like every show that you do but they kind of were because we featured two other drag artists too we were rotating cast
Right.
technically so everybody had their different take on Hedwig and that was a fun challenge for me.
What did you think of how the other two did it. Not necessarily in a critical way, just how, like, looking back then as an observer of a part that you do. Like, normally when you think about playing a part, it's a role that you borrow yourself for a limited time. You don't ever see someone else borrow it at the same time as you. What's
Yeah.
that experience like?
Um, After seeing what they did, I think that they sucked. No, I'm kidding. No, they
That's gonna go on the viral clip. We're gonna
good. No, Junie, the one of the Hedwigs, she's this incredible trance performer that had experience or has experience singing with a live rock band, and I don't know if she was newer to acting. I couldn't remember if she said that, but I know she has stage experience. And seeing her take on it, I was so enraptured by her vocals and how she delivered that energy with Hedwig with her vocals. And Cheeky, who was the other Hedwig, she brought a more traditional sense of Hedwig, where it's a little more by the book, but also like I could see her drag character with Hedwig, and she's also POC and of brown skin, and so it's kind of like I love how we took a very white character and we threw in a girl who has more melanin, and that comes with more opportunity to play with that character or to make different choices or to apply, more of yourself to her. And I don't know, I really loved all of us together as a group because we literally brought different facets of our background and our representation or our different takes on such an iconic queer character such as Hedwig. Like Hedwig, learning about the show and really getting to the meat of it, Hedwig is a very complicated, not very lightly, but bit of a problematic character, given the things that she does and what she says. And there was some times where I caught myself like clutching my chest. I was like, "Oh, whoa,
My stars!"
Like that's crazy." But what I love the most overall with that show is you are getting an hour and a half, hour 45, no intermission of just you on stage, but you're going through the quickest round of character development and growth as a character, because Hedwig it's a whole therapy session is basically what it is, because she starts off angry and it builds, but then at the end it dissipates and she evolves and she changes and she sees and she grows, and it's so beautiful. There wasn't one night during my performances that I didn't cry. It is such a powerful thing to feel with her.
Do you know how that decision was made to have three different performers take on that role?
Uh, Not really. Okay. Honestly, I don't really know how that came about.
I think that's a cool choice.
I think so too. I think that that is something that should be done, kind of like how you have the shadow cast for Rocky. Like, the people who mimic the movie and perform it. I think that it should be seen like that with Hedwig, where you have such a cult classic queer film that is so popular and iconic that there should be like a touring company or touring group where you book out a year and you tour the show in different cities, and it should feature 2 or 3 different Hedwigs per night that you're doing it in that city, because it's like it would expand people's view on different artists and their different takes on Hedwig. And I don't know, I think that would be so cool. I think that needs to become a regular thing. I don't think, like I said that I want to do Hedwig again. I would love to selfishly have the role to myself and not trade it out, and just for the sake of having more weekends, because I only had 4 performances total. But other than that, no, I think that would be such an incredible thing to do more often. And I think that more shows should do stuff like that, where, maybe we should cast more swing members or understudies and be more willing to trade them out and have specific, like Broadway does it all the time.
Yeah.
They do understudy shows. Or there are some schools that I remember, like that I attended back when I was a kid, where we had specific weekends that were the understudy shows. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the other queens were my understudies by any means. It's just like featuring people who are alternating and, giving other people the spotlight.
Yeah, there's a pragmatic sense to it in that you're kind of building in a safety net, but also there is an artistic endeavor in there too, where someone else comes in, the meaning of things change a little bit, or how you listen to the other person changes a little bit. The dynamics, the chemistry, the flow of the beats, it all kind of changes a little bit, and it is certainly one way to keep it from getting stale.
Right.
That's a thing that when you're talking about like a month-long show, and we're gonna do this a little bit more in the next episode, but like when you're dealing with a month-long show or a 5-week show or whatever longer, as opposed to whether it's a 2-weekend or a three-weekend run, by the time you close, it's almost like you've crescendoed, right? You've gotten to this point
Oh my
where
God,
it's
yeah.
it's taken on a different monster altogether.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with a longer run, it's like, okay, well, how can you keep it organic? How can you keep it the first time, every time? And it's a different challenge.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, going off of that, it's like by the time the show is closing, like I basically perfected the show. Like you know exactly back to front how it should go, and you know exactly like all your cues, all the little ins and outs. And that's in relation to that though, it's kind of like with songs that I perform at drag bars or drag shows. It's like the first time I'm performing a song is opening night, where it's like you don't really know how this is going to go, but you know this song and you're going to see how it goes. You're testing it, testing out emotions, testing out reactions, whatever. And by the second or third or fourth time I perform a song is usually when that's where I feel the most connected to it. And I'm like making choices. I'm making different little things to make it more interesting, or I'm paying attention to details in the song with the musicality and like the vocals, the breaths, the sound effects, the whatever.
When doing the research on you, I thought this is a really interesting quote. I'd never heard it posed this way before. Someone asked you if you get nervous before you go on stage. And your quote was, you described it as you have like 2 or 3 seconds where you feel less than the audience before it all goes away and you're up in your element. Do you still feel that way, or has that feeling evolved? Because I love a good "do you get nervous" question. I think we all still get those butterflies before we go on stage. But I never heard it posed in the way that, like, it's almost like you're worried about failing them in some kind of way.
It has evolved. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. But so in my early stages of my career, it was seen as nerves, because there's a lot when you work in drag for a living. Some people have the privilege of doing that, some don't, and they work part-time jobs, whatever. But when you have to make money with your drag, you think about what is going to either make or break that night, and that's pleasing the audience or not. And there are nerves attached to that because you want to do well, but also it's like, when you're like doing a new trick, a new dance, something that's choreographed, a new mix with like, sometimes drag performers perform a collection of like 2 or 3 songs, and then it's mixed in with like audio clips from like a movie or a TV show. And so you want to show off your lip sync ability to drive that character home, but you don't know how that's going to go. And you want the laugh, you want the reaction. And when you don't get it, it's devastating in the moment, but also like, you'll try it again. Maybe you'll adjust, but no, how it's evolved though for me though is like, I have those few seconds, like I said, and where I am like telling myself my ritual, where it's like I'm 10 years old auditioning for my first musical, and my grandma takes my hand and she says, "You can do anything." And I repeat that to myself over and over again. And that's been my armor for decades. But you kind of like step into this mindset where I learned really quick that it's not nerves that a lot of us feel, it's adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're
Yeah.
going to do. You know what you can do, what you're going to do. You need to adjust that thinking of, oh, I'm so nervous. Oh, I have to pee. I have to take a shit. Oh my God. Like, no, your body is feeling adrenaline because you're excited. You just don't realize that in the moment because you don't want to fail. But the only person that you can fail is yourself by not accepting and stepping out on that stage fully like yourself and being vulnerable with that audience. And when that spotlight hits, all of that goes away because
It's gone.
It's
gone.
magic how that works, because when you know what you're gonna do, it's like autopilot almost, because like there's some shows where I black out and I'm like, I don't
What
even
happened?
remember. Like, how did I even do that? How did, like, but, and for me, it kind of helps that I'm nearsighted and I don't wear glasses or contacts when I'm on stage ever. And the audience just looks like a blur. So, like, half the time, I just rely on sound. And, if I can see people up close, it's another thing. But, it kind of helps, like not being able to see details.
100%.
And who's
Shout out
looking at me.
Yeah, shout out astigmatism on my end.
Same.
Everyone's just a giant blur. It's black out there. I don't know what's going on.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. I do. Okay, we're gonna pick this up for a second episode, but this was really fun. This was very insightful.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it. So we'll put a bow on this episode. I'd like to thank my guest, Alexander Surian. You can find them on Instagram at Evah Destruction. And they still perform down on Austin's 4th Street at Oil Can Harry's for the best drag show ever on Saturday nights. You can follow all of our socials on Instagram, on Facebook, on X and Blue Sky, and on TikTok at Theater Life Pod. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow Theater Life on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so that the next conversation finds you, and find everything at theaterlifepodcast.com. New episodes drop every 2 weeks. Until then, I'm Ben Kercheval. See you next time.